There are wounds we carry that no one can see, and these are often the ones that hurt the longest. You may not even notice them at first. They don't break your bones, but they tear at something far deeper, something more fragile. It's not your body that's injured, it's your trust, your belief in people, your faith in connections that seem solid but were actually fragile from the start. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you truly trusted? Or lied to by someone you thought would never deceive you? That feeling when you realize that someone you've opened your heart to, someone you've let into your inner circle, has broken your trust. It's like a quiet storm inside you, one that no one can see, but that roars through your mind day and night. What happens then? You're left holding the pieces of something that wasn't built on solid ground in the first place. You're standing there feeling exposed and vulnerable, wondering how something that felt so right could turn so wrong. And the pain? It's not just in that moment, it lingers. It stays with you, weaving itself into your daily thoughts, tainting your relationships, even your sense of self. You start to question everything. Was I wrong to trust them? Did I ignore the signs? Was I too naive? But here's a brutal truth we often forget. You cannot heal in the same place that hurt you. Think about that. You can't find peace in the same environment that shattered your peace. You can't move forward if you're constantly revisiting the scene of the pain, trying to understand, trying to relive the situation over and over in your mind. It won't give you answers, it'll just keep you stuck in a cycle of emotional suffering. This is where Stoicism comes in. It's not about escaping the pain, it's not about running away from the hurt. Stoicism teaches us that pain is a part of life, everyone faces it. But how we respond to pain is what truly defines us. The Stoics didn't teach us to avoid pain. They taught us to face it, to endure it, with dignity. They taught us to protect our inner peace, no matter how cruel the world becomes. And most importantly, they taught us how to transform that pain into wisdom. Let's dive deeper into this. The moment after you've been hurt, after the betrayal or the lie or the disrespect hits, it feels like your mind is screaming for justice. You want to confront them. You want to say all the things you should have said. You want to expose them for what they did to you. Show them how much they've hurt you. But here's what Stoicism reminds us. You don't owe them a war. You don't owe them a response. You owe yourself peace. The truth is, when someone hurts you, your first instinct is to make them feel the pain you felt. You think, if I can make them feel what I felt, maybe then I'll feel like I've got some justice. But in doing so, you're trading one wound for another. You're giving away your peace to try to get back something that will never truly restore what was lost. The Stoic path doesn't focus on them, it focuses on you. It's about you regaining control over your emotions, not them. Epictetus once said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." Let that sink in. You've been betrayed, yes. But now, every morning when you wake up, every conversation you have, you're still carrying that hurt with you. You're letting it taint your thoughts, sabotage your happiness. That's no longer about what they did, it's about what you're doing to yourself by letting the pain take over. So what is peace, really? Peace isn't about pretending that nothing happened. It isn't about smiling through the pain or forcing yourself to forgive before you're ready. No, peace is power. It's the quiet strength that comes from deciding that no matter what someone else does, they no longer have emotional access to your mind. Think about it, how many times have you let someone else's behavior dictate your mood? Someone disrespects you, and suddenly your entire day is ruined. Someone ignores you, and now you can't stop thinking about it, replaying the scenario over and over in your mind. That's emotional chaos. But true peace comes when you decide that no one and nothing has the right to disturb your inner calm. It's not about avoiding people, it's about protecting your peace. Not everyone who hurts you deserves a reaction. Some people, frankly, deserve silence and distance. And that's not avoidance, it's emotional discipline. Silence, it's not about weakness, it's about strength. It's about choosing not to react, not to spiral, not to engage in their drama. Because when you stop reacting to their chaos, you're the one who's in control. And that, my friend, is where your true power lies. So, ask yourself, are you going to keep giving your emotional energy to people who don't even deserve it? Or are you going to take back control and protect your peace? Because once you realize that you don't need closure from them, you don't need their apology, you don't need them to understand, you'll find a new sense of freedom. The peace you're searching for isn't outside of you. It's within you, waiting for you to choose it. And that's the most powerful choice you can make. Finding peace beyond the pain. Have you ever tried to heal while staying in the very place that caused you pain? It's like trying to fix a broken bone without ever taking the weight off it. The healing can't happen. You need space, time, and distance from the very source of that hurt. But many of us stay stuck, thinking that if we just prove our point or get the apology we think we deserve, we'll feel better. The truth? You can't heal in the same place that hurt you. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself trying to prove something to someone who wasn't even paying attention when they had the chance? Someone who didn't care when you needed them to. It's a dangerous trap. You keep fighting a battle that was never yours to begin with. And the longer you stay, the more your peace slips away. The more energy you waste trying to convince them of your worth, the less you have left for yourself. The harsh reality is that you can't find peace in a place that never valued your peace in the first place. No matter how many times you revisit the past, no matter how many times you try to show someone what they did to you, it won't bring you the healing you're looking for. It will only keep you tied to a narrative that doesn't serve your growth. This is where Stoic philosophy offers us a life-changing perspective. The Stoics didn't teach us to escape pain, but to endure it with dignity. They didn't teach us to keep reliving the hurt, but to let go of the need to prove anything to anyone. Think about Marcus Aurelius, who, despite losing loved ones, enduring wars, and facing political betrayal, never once allowed external circumstances to rob him of his inner peace. He knew that true peace comes not from others, but from within. You see, we often fall into the trap of thinking that if we just convince the person who hurt us to understand, or apologize, or acknowledge our pain, then we'll be free. But here's the truth. They don't have the power to give you the peace you seek. The more you try to prove something to them, the more you give them control over your emotional world. And the longer you stay in that battle, the longer you'll be stuck in the same cycle of hurt. So what's the solution? Distance. Distance doesn't mean you're running away or being weak. It's the exact opposite. It's emotional discipline. It's the ability to protect your peace by choosing not to engage in unnecessary drama, not to keep fighting a battle where the other side isn't even playing the game. It's a choice to say, I've been hurt, but I don't need your approval to heal. I don't need to explain myself to you to move on. It's about understanding that you don't have to prove your worth to anyone, especially to those who have shown you that they don't care enough to honor your value. When you continue trying to convince someone who doesn't value you, you're allowing them to continue having access to your energy. And your energy is sacred. Every time you engage in a fight for validation from someone who doesn't deserve it, you're taking away energy you could be using to build a better, stronger version of yourself. Think about it this way. Imagine your emotional energy is a bank account. Every time you engage with someone toxic, every time you revisit that painful situation, you're withdrawing from that account. But when you choose silence, when you choose to protect your peace, you're replenishing that account. You're saving your emotional energy for things that truly matter, things that will help you grow, heal, and evolve into the person you're meant to be. Here's the point. You can't heal by staying in the same environment that hurt you. The longer you stay, the longer you keep looking for validation from the wrong sources, the longer you'll remain stuck. But when you take a step back, when you disconnect from the need to prove something, that's when the healing starts. It's like building a house. If the foundation is cracked, you can't keep building on top of it. You have to take a step back, rebuild, and then lay a stronger foundation. And that's exactly what you're doing when you choose to distance yourself from those who hurt you. You're rebuilding yourself. You're laying a foundation of inner peace where no one else can shake you or make you doubt your worth. But here's the challenge. Letting go is hard. It's hard to stop seeking closure, especially when we feel like we're entitled to it. But here's a thought. Closure isn't something they give you, it's something you give yourself. You don't need them to apologize or acknowledge your pain for you to move forward. True closure comes when you decide, on your own, that you no longer need their approval to be at peace. So ask yourself this: what's more important to you, holding on to the need for someone else to understand your pain, or reclaiming your peace and power? The choice is yours. You don't have to stay in that place of hurt. You can move on. You can rebuild your life with strength and dignity. And the best part? You don't need anyone's permission to do it. You just need to decide that your peace matters more than their recognition. That's where true freedom lies. And once you step into that freedom, you'll realize that all the battles you were fighting were never really about them. They were about you finding the strength to let go and build something stronger in yourself. And that, my friend, is where the true healing begins. In life, pain is inevitable. We all face it, whether it's the loss of a loved one, the betrayal of a friend, or the weight of disappointment when things don't go as planned. But here's something that many of us struggle to understand. Pain isn't the problem. It's how we respond to it that defines us. The Stoics, some of the greatest minds in history, didn't teach us to run away from pain or pretend it doesn't exist. They didn't tell us to push it down, suppress it, or avoid it. No, the Stoics taught us something far more profound. They taught us how to endure pain with dignity. And that's what we're going to explore today: how to handle life's toughest moments. Not by escaping them, but by facing them head on with a strong, resilient spirit. Let's think about it for a second. How many of us have experienced pain and just wanted to escape it? Maybe you've been hurt by someone close to you, someone you trusted, and their actions left you broken. Or maybe you found yourself in a situation where everything seemed out of your control, and the pain felt overwhelming. Our first instinct is to run from it. We want to forget it, suppress it, or find a quick fix to make it go away. But does that actually work? Does running away from pain ever truly heal the wound? The truth is, it doesn't. Pain can't be avoided, and it certainly won't be healed by pretending it doesn't exist. But here's the powerful lesson from Stoicism. Pain is not something to fear. It is something to face, something to learn from, something that can strengthen you. Take Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers and Roman emperors. He didn't live a life free from hardship. In fact, he faced war, the deaths of loved ones, political betrayal, and the burden of leading an empire. And yet, what he taught us in his personal writings, his meditations, is a lesson in enduring hardship with grace and dignity. He showed us that we don't have to let pain break us. Instead, we can use it as an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. It's not about denying the pain, it's about how we choose to respond. The Stoics believe that while we can't control the external events that cause us pain, we can control how we respond to them. And that response, that internal strength, is what shapes our character. In a world that often wants us to react impulsively, to lash out, or to bury our emotions, Stoicism asks us to pause, to reflect, to act with purpose, not emotion. Think about the times you've faced hardship. Maybe you were betrayed by someone you trusted deeply. Maybe you failed at something you worked hard for. Or maybe you just felt overwhelmed by the weight of life. In those moments, it's easy to get consumed by anger, sadness, or frustration. It's tempting to react, whether by seeking revenge, blaming others, or sinking into despair. But what if you didn't do that? What if instead you chose to respond differently? Imagine this. What if, in those moments of pain, you chose to endure it with dignity? What if you didn't let the actions of others dictate your peace? What if, instead of reacting emotionally, you took a step back, found your center, and faced the pain calmly? That's the Stoic way. It's about finding the strength to stand tall even when everything around you is falling apart. It's about protecting your soul from being overwhelmed by the cruelty of the world. It's about knowing that you can't control what happens to you, but you can always control how you face it. I know it sounds hard, maybe even impossible at times. When life knocks you down, it's easy to feel like everything is out of your control. But let me ask you this. What if you could find peace even in the storm? What if, instead of being a victim to your circumstances, you could rise above them, stronger and more resilient than ever before? One of the core ideas of Stoicism is that we can turn wounds into wisdom. Each difficult moment, each painful experience can teach us something if we choose to learn from it. Pain doesn't have to be a dead end. It doesn't have to define you. Instead, it can be the catalyst for personal growth, for transformation. When you choose to face your pain with dignity, you're not just surviving, it's as if you're choosing to thrive, even in the toughest circumstances. And let me be clear, this isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending that everything is fine when it's not. It's about acknowledging the pain, accepting it as part of life, and then deciding not to let it control your actions or your emotions. So, how do we do this? How do we endure pain with dignity? It starts with awareness. The next time you face hardship, pause for a moment. Instead of reacting immediately, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what is within my control? How can I respond with wisdom, not emotion? Can I choose to protect my peace, even in this moment of pain? The second step is self-discipline. It's about training yourself to act with purpose. Instead of giving in to anger, resentment, or fear, practice the Stoic art of staying grounded. Focus on what you can control: your actions, your thoughts, and your perspective. And finally, patience. Healing takes time, growth takes time. And in our world of instant gratification, we often forget that real strength comes from enduring hardship over time without losing our sense of self. The Stoics didn't teach us to escape pain, they taught us how to face it with dignity, to protect our inner peace, and to turn every challenge into an opportunity for growth. And remember, this isn't about being cold or emotionless. It's about being in control. It's about finding strength in the most difficult of times and never letting the world rob you of your peace. So, the next time life tests you, don't look for a way to run away from the pain. Instead, ask yourself, how can I endure this with dignity? How can I rise above it and come out stronger? That's the Stoic way. And that's the path to true inner peace. Have you ever been hurt so deeply that all you wanted in that moment was to make the person who hurt you feel the same pain? To get revenge, to confront them, to make sure they know what they've done to you? I know that feeling. In fact, it's something we've all experienced. Someone betrays you, disrespects you, or makes you feel small. And in that moment, your mind races with the idea of confronting them, of somehow making them understand the depth of the hurt they caused. But here's the thing, Stoicism teaches us that revenge isn't the path to peace. In the heat of emotional turmoil, it can feel like seeking retribution is the only way to restore balance, to right the wrong. But Stoicism invites us to reflect on a deeper truth. Peace isn't about confronting others, or proving a point, or forcing someone to feel the consequences of their actions. Peace is about mastering your own response, about choosing how you react to the pain, and protecting your soul from further harm. Think about it. When you're hurt, your first instinct is to get back at the person who wronged you. You want to make them see the error of their ways. But here's the irony: you trade your peace for their actions. You give up your inner calm in exchange for bitterness, anger, or frustration. And what happens? You lose, while they continue living their life unaffected. This is where Stoicism gives us a powerful tool. Peace is strength. The Stoics didn't teach us to avoid pain, they taught us to face it with dignity. They believed that emotional control and inner peace were far more powerful than any external victory. When you let someone's actions dictate your emotional state, you hand them the power to control your happiness. But when you choose peace, you take back that power. And that is a form of victory that no one can take from you. Let's look at a real-life example. Think of someone who's hurt you in the past. Maybe it was a friend who betrayed your trust, or a colleague who took credit for your work. In the moment, it's easy to feel like confronting them, calling them out, or making them regret their actions will bring you justice. But here's the question. After all that energy spent on revenge, does it really make you feel better? Or does it just pull you further into a cycle of negativity? When you step back and choose peace, you stop engaging with that cycle. You stop feeding the drama. And that's when you realize that true power comes from within. You protect your peace by choosing not to react to negativity. It's not about ignoring the hurt. It's about acknowledging it without letting it define you. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, often faced unimaginable challenges as a Roman emperor. He experienced war, loss, betrayal, and personal hardship. Yet, in his meditations, he wrote extensively about how to maintain inner peace, no matter the external chaos. He didn't try to change the world around him, but rather, he focused on changing his response to it. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is the essence of Stoic peace. It's not about controlling other people's actions or outcomes. It's about controlling how you react to them. It's about staying grounded, even when life tries to knock you off balance. It's about not letting the actions of others dictate your emotional state. But let's be honest, it's not always easy. The temptation to lash out, to make someone understand your pain, is powerful. You might feel like you're entitled to some form of justice or acknowledgement. But in reality, justice isn't about making others feel the way they made you feel. It's about restoring your own peace. And that peace comes when you stop engaging in battles that only drain you. When you stop letting your emotions be held hostage by someone else's actions. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds great, but how do I actually practice this in my life? Let me give you a few ways you can begin to implement this philosophy when you're faced with pain. Pause before reacting. When you're hurt, your immediate reaction is to respond emotionally. But the Stoics taught us to pause, to take a step back, and to evaluate our emotional state before acting. This pause is where your power lies. It gives you the space to choose your response, rather than letting your emotions choose for you. Focus on what you can control. You can't control what others do, but you can control how you respond. The more you focus on controlling your own actions and thoughts, the less power external events will have over you. And that's where true freedom lies, in your response, not the event. Let go of the need for closure. One of the biggest traps we fall into when we're hurt is the need for closure or an apology from the person who wronged us. But often these things never come. So why wait for something that may never arrive? Instead, give yourself the closure you deserve by choosing peace over resentment. Your healing doesn't depend on their acknowledgement, it depends on your ability to move forward. Protect your peace at all costs. This is the ultimate Stoic principle. Your peace is sacred, and once you realize that, you begin to make different choices. You stop engaging with negativity. You stop allowing others to disturb your calm, and you start focusing on building a life that nourishes your soul, not drains it. So, the next time you're faced with pain, betrayal, or disappointment, remember, you don't need to fight back to find peace. You don't need to lash out, seek revenge, or demand an apology. The true path to peace is found in protecting your inner world and choosing to rise above the storm with dignity and strength. That's where your true power lies. And that's the Stoic way. Have you ever found yourself caught in a spiral of emotions after something hurtful happened? Maybe you were betrayed by a friend, passed over for an opportunity you deserved, or misunderstood by someone close to you. And in that moment, your mind races with anger, sadness, or frustration. It feels like your emotions are taking control of you, doesn't it? But here's where Stoicism offers us a powerful shift in perspective. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, taught us something incredibly freeing. We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. Let that sink in. It's not the pain itself that's the problem. It's how we choose to respond to it. This is a game changer. Think about the last time you felt hurt. Was it because of what someone did? Or was it because of the way you judged the situation? The pain we feel is often magnified by the stories we tell ourselves about what's happening. We get wrapped up in the narrative, the "I can't believe they did this to me," or "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never be treated fairly." These judgments color the way we experience pain, and before we know it, the pain becomes more than just a feeling. It becomes a part of us. It shapes our thoughts, our actions, and even our future decisions. But here's the truth that Epictetus and the Stoics offer. You are in control of how you interpret your experiences. The situation might be out of your hands, but how you respond to it is always within your control. Let me ask you this. What if the next time something painful happens, instead of letting it consume you, you chose to look at it differently? What if you could detach from the emotional reaction and simply acknowledge it without letting it dominate your life? The key here is emotional control. It's not about suppressing your feelings or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about recognizing that your emotions, while valid, don't have to control you. You can acknowledge the pain without letting it define you. You can feel hurt without spiraling into anger or despair. The Stoics understood that it's not the event itself that causes suffering, it's the meaning we attach to that event. For example, let's say you were passed over for a promotion at work. The immediate emotional reaction might be frustration, confusion, or even anger. But what if you took a step back and asked yourself, what can I control in this situation? Can you control the decision that was made? Number. But can you control how you respond? Absolutely. Maybe this is an opportunity to reflect on your growth, to find ways to improve, or even to seek feedback to be better prepared next time. You could choose to see this setback not as a personal failure, but as a lesson that will guide you toward future success. This is the difference between being controlled by your emotions and controlling your emotions. The Stoics didn't teach us to deny our feelings, they taught us how to manage them. It's about becoming aware of your emotions, observing them without judgment, and then making the conscious choice to respond with wisdom. I'll share a personal example. I once worked on a project with someone who I believed was a close colleague, only to find out later that they had taken credit for my work. At first, I was furious. I wanted to confront them, to make them regret what they did. But then, I remembered the Stoic teaching. The event itself wasn't the problem, it was my reaction to it. I realized that if I let this anger consume me, I'd be handing over my power to someone who didn't deserve it. Instead of spiraling into resentment, I chose to calmly address the situation, take responsibility for what I could control, and move forward with dignity. That decision freed me from the emotional prison of anger and resentment. Here's another powerful example from Epictetus. He was born a slave, endured physical abuse, and was ultimately exiled. Yet, he didn't see himself as a victim. Instead, he focused on what he could control: his thoughts, his response to the world around him, and his internal peace. He famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That's a mindset we can all learn from. No matter what life throws at us, we always have the power to choose how we react. So how do we begin to practice this emotional control in our own lives? Pause before reacting. When something happens that triggers an emotional reaction, take a moment to pause. Instead of reacting immediately, breathe and allow yourself to gain perspective. Ask yourself, what is in my control here? What can I change? How can I respond in a way that reflects my values? Challenge your judgments. When you feel pain, frustration, or anger, pause and question the judgments you're attaching to the situation. Are you assuming something that isn't true? Are you adding unnecessary weight to the situation by thinking it's worse than it is? Try to separate the event from the story you're telling yourself about it. Focus on your response. Once you've paused and reassessed the situation, focus on how you want to respond. Do you want to stay angry, or do you want to regain control and choose peace? The more you practice this, the more you'll find that your emotions won't have the same power over you. Embrace the lesson. Every painful experience carries a lesson if we're willing to see it. Pain doesn't have to be a burden. It can be an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. When you focus on the lesson rather than the pain, you'll find it easier to move on. Remember, you are not your emotions. You are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you choose to respond. And that's the power of Stoicism, understanding that we have the ability to control our reactions, to choose our responses, and to find peace within ourselves, regardless of what's going on around us. So, the next time you face a difficult situation, instead of letting it consume you, pause, reflect, and remember that you have the power to choose your response. By practicing emotional control, you will not only free yourself from unnecessary suffering, but you will also unlock a deeper sense of inner peace. Peace. It's something we all crave, yet it often feels elusive. We chase after it, looking for it in places or situations that we think will bring us calm. Maybe we think if we just get the right job, the perfect relationship, or the life we envision, everything will fall into place and peace will follow. But here's the truth. Peace doesn't come from external circumstances. It comes from within. You see, peace isn't about pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's not about putting on a happy face or acting like problems don't exist. That's not peace, that's avoidance. True peace, according to Stoicism, is not the absence of conflict or hardship, but the ability to protect your inner peace even in the face of life's storms. Let me ask you this. How often do we let the actions of others disturb our peace? Someone cuts you off in traffic, and suddenly your mood is ruined. A colleague takes credit for your hard work, and it festers in your mind all day. A friend says something thoughtless, and you can't stop thinking about it. Why does this happen? Here's where Stoicism teaches us a game-changing concept. You cannot control the actions of others, but you can always control your reaction to them. This is where true peace lies, in protecting your soul from being shaken by the negativity around you. Take a moment and reflect. How much of your emotional energy do you spend reacting to things you can't control? How much of your peace do you sacrifice to people who don't even care about it? Think about a time when someone's words or actions made you angry. Maybe you even thought about it for days, replaying the incident in your mind, allowing that person to live rent-free in your head. That's not peace. That's you giving up your energy to someone else's negativity. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, understood this deeply. He didn't live a life free from difficulties, far from it. He faced wars, personal losses, betrayals, and the weight of ruling an empire. Yet, in his writings, he reminds us that our peace is our responsibility. It's not the world around you that determines your inner peace. It's how you choose to respond to it. When things go wrong, when people hurt you, when life gets tough, the most powerful thing you can do is protect your peace by controlling your reactions. But how do we do that? First, we need to realize that we are the guardians of our emotional state. No one can take your peace unless you let them. Think about it when someone says something hurtful. Your mind immediately wants to react. Maybe you want to defend yourself, to argue back, to make them see things your way. But is that really going to bring you peace? Or will it just fuel the fire of negativity? Instead, imagine responding with calm. Imagine not allowing that moment, that person, that event to control your emotional state. Imagine stepping back and choosing to not let their negativity become your burden. That's the essence of Stoic peace. It's about protecting your soul from the outside world, not by avoiding it, but by choosing not to be emotionally swayed by it. Another critical aspect of peace is detachment. Now, don't mistake detachment for apathy. It's not about not caring, it's about caring, but not allowing yourself to be swept away by emotions. For example, if a friend or family member does something hurtful, you can acknowledge the hurt, but you don't have to let it control your entire day or your entire life. You don't have to hold on to the anger or resentment. Detach from the negativity and choose to move forward. Why is this so important? Because when we allow others to affect our emotions, we give them control over us. And the more we allow it, the more we lose ourselves in their negativity. But when we choose to remain calm, when we choose to guard our peace, we regain our power. This doesn't mean you should become emotionless. Stoicism isn't about denying your feelings. It's about acknowledging them, understanding them, and then deciding how you want to respond. You can feel angry or sad, but you don't have to let those feelings control you. You can feel hurt, but you don't have to carry that hurt around forever. Let me share a personal experience. There was a time when a close friend made a decision that deeply disappointed me. At first, I was upset. I wanted to confront them, express my anger, and let them know how much they had hurt me. But instead, I paused. I reflected on the situation and remembered that I could not control their actions, but I could control my reaction. Instead of reacting in anger, I chose to protect my peace. I took some time to reflect, to calm down, and to process the situation. And you know what happened? I didn't feel the need to confront them. I didn't feel the need to carry that anger around anymore. I protected my peace by not letting their actions dictate how I felt. That, my friend, is what Stoicism teaches us. It's not about avoiding conflict or suppressing our emotions. It's about protecting our peace by not allowing external circumstances to define our emotional state. Now, ask yourself, how often do you let people or situations steal your peace? How often do you let someone's words, actions, or behaviors drag you into a negative emotional spiral? The truth is, you don't need their permission to protect your peace. You don't need anyone's validation, apology, or recognition to remain centered and calm. The Stoics knew that life would always present challenges. People would hurt us, situations would disappoint us, and the world would often seem chaotic. But they also knew that the key to living a peaceful life was to master our reactions. They knew that the external world could be harsh, but our inner world was something we could control. And that control, our ability to choose peace over chaos, was what made us truly free. So, when life tests you, when someone tries to take your peace away, remember, your peace is your power. Don't give it away easily. Protect it, nurture it, and choose to rise above the chaos. That is the true meaning of peace, according to Stoicism, and that's the kind of peace that no one can ever take from you. Life will inevitably throw pain your way. It's part of the human experience. Whether it's betrayal, a broken trust, or the sting of unkind words, at some point we all face it. And when that happens, we often feel the urge to retaliate, to fight back, to make the person who hurt us feel the same way. It's natural, our first instinct is to seek revenge or confrontation. But let's pause for a moment and reflect. Does that really bring us peace? Does it heal the wound? Or does it just keep us stuck in the cycle of anger and resentment? Here's where Stoicism offers us an entirely different path. A path to healing, to growth, and to true inner peace. Stoicism doesn't teach us to get even. It doesn't tell us to confront those who hurt us or seek revenge. Instead, it teaches us something far more powerful, to rise above the pain, to change ourselves so deeply that we no longer allow others to affect us. Think about it: when someone hurts you, it's easy to get caught up in the idea of confronting them. Maybe you want to call them out, to make them realize the harm they've caused, to see them suffer as you have. But in doing so, you're not just hurting them, you're also hurting yourself. You're giving away your peace, your energy, your focus. You're allowing them to have control over your emotions long after the incident has passed. And the truth is, they might never even acknowledge the hurt they caused you. But here's the profound realization that Stoicism offers. You don't need them to change in order to heal. You don't need them to apologize or recognize their wrongdoing. What you need is to change yourself. You need to grow beyond their influence so they no longer have the power to control your emotions. The power to heal lies not in seeking revenge, but in transforming yourself in such a way that the actions of others no longer define your inner peace. This idea is beautifully illustrated in the teachings of Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, two of the most influential Stoic philosophers. They both faced unimaginable hardships, war, betrayal, loss, but rather than seeking retribution, they chose to rise above it. They knew that true strength comes not from confronting others, but from confronting yourself, from changing your response to the world around you. Now, you might be thinking, but what about justice? What if they've really wronged me? And that's a valid question. Of course, we all want justice when we've been hurt. We want acknowledgement, an apology, a sense of fairness. But true justice, according to Stoicism, isn't about making others pay for what they did. True justice is about making sure that their actions don't take your peace. It's about ensuring that, no matter what they've done, They don't get to decide how you feel. So, how do we do this? How do we rise above the people who hurt us? How do we stop letting their actions affect our emotional well-being? Shift your focus inward. Instead of thinking about how to make them see the truth or how to make them feel what you feel, turn your attention to yourself. Ask yourself, how can I grow from this? How can I ensure that this pain doesn't define me? The Stoics believe that every hardship is an opportunity for personal growth. The key is to focus on your own response. You can't control what they did, but you can control how you respond to it. And when you focus on your response, you're already on the path to healing. Let go of the need for revenge. Revenge might seem like the answer in the heat of the moment. It's a way to restore balance and make sure they know what they've done. But revenge is a trap. It keeps you emotionally tied to the person who hurt you. Instead, let go of the need to prove a point. Your peace doesn't depend on their acknowledgement of your pain. Let go of the idea that they need to change for you to heal. You are responsible for your own peace. Embrace emotional discipline. Stoicism teaches us to master our emotions, not suppress them. When we're hurt, it's natural to feel pain, anger, or frustration. But we don't need to act on those feelings. Instead, we can acknowledge them, process them, and then choose to move forward. Emotional discipline is the ability to feel your emotions without letting them control you. You can feel angry without letting anger dictate your actions. You can feel hurt without allowing that hurt to define you. Use the pain as fuel for growth. Every painful experience can teach us something if we choose to learn from it. When someone hurts you, instead of letting it consume you, ask yourself, what is this teaching me about my boundaries? What is this teaching me about myself? Maybe it's teaching you about the importance of trust, or how to stand up for yourself, or how to recognize when someone isn't worthy of your time and energy. Pain, when handled with wisdom, can become a powerful tool for self-improvement. Detach with dignity. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you choose not to engage with the negativity. It's about creating emotional boundaries so that you can protect your peace, even when others are acting out of line. Detach with dignity, not bitterness. Walk away from toxic situations and people, not because you hate them, but because you value yourself enough not to stay in a place where your peace is threatened. At the end of the day, the person who hurt you doesn't have to apologize for you to heal. You don't need them to understand your pain in order to let go of it. Healing comes from within. It comes from rising above their actions and choosing to protect your peace, your energy, and your emotional well-being. Remember, the power to heal is yours, and it doesn't depend on anyone else. The next time someone hurts you, instead of seeking revenge, try to focus on becoming so strong, so emotionally resilient, that they can no longer touch you. Rise above the pain, not because they deserve to see you thrive, but because you deserve to rise above it. This is the Stoic way. Not about confronting others, not about revenge, but about changing yourself so deeply that you are no longer affected by the people who hurt you. And when you do this, you'll realize that your peace, your power, and your freedom are not for anyone else to take, they're yours to keep. We all experience pain at some point in our lives. Whether it's betrayal, disappointment, or loss. The feeling of being hurt by others can cut deeply, leaving us scarred, emotionally drained, and struggling to move forward. In those moments, it's natural to want to lash out, to make those who've hurt us feel the same way we do, to prove a point. But here's something important that we often overlook. Healing isn't about proving something to the people who've hurt you. It's about rebirthing yourself, rising from the pain stronger and more resilient than ever, and transforming into someone who's no longer affected by those wounds. Think about it. When we're hurt, the natural instinct is to get even, right? We want to make sure they understand the pain they caused us, and maybe even get them to regret what they did. But when we do that, we're not just hurting them, we're holding ourselves back. We're giving away our peace, our energy, our focus to someone who doesn't deserve it. And the truth is, no matter how much you want them to feel your pain, they might never even acknowledge it. They might move on with their lives completely unaffected. And that, my friend, is the moment you lose. You lose when you let the actions of others control your emotional state. But here's the profound realization that Stoicism offers. You don't need them to change in order to heal. You don't need them to apologize or recognize their wrongdoing. What you need is to change yourself. You need to grow beyond their influence, so they no longer have the power to control your emotions. The power to heal lies not in seeking revenge, but in transforming yourself in such a way that the actions of others no longer define your inner peace. This idea is beautifully illustrated in the teachings of Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, two of the most influential Stoic philosophers. They both faced unimaginable hardships, betrayals, losses, and trials that most of us will never face. Yet, in their wisdom, they didn't focus on revenge or retribution. Instead, they focused on inner transformation. They knew that healing wasn't about changing the world or the people who hurt them. It was about changing themselves. It was about choosing to rise, choosing to reclaim their emotional power, and choosing to not be controlled by external forces. Now, you might be thinking, but what about justice? What if they've really wronged me? And that's a valid question. Of course, we all want justice when we've been hurt. We want acknowledgement, an apology, a sense of fairness. But true justice, according to Stoicism, isn't about making others pay for what they did. True justice is about making sure that their actions don't take your peace. It's about ensuring that no matter what they've done, they don't get to decide how you feel. So, how do we do this? How do we rise above the people who hurt us? How do we stop letting their actions affect our emotional well-being? Shift your focus inward. Instead of thinking about how to make them see the truth or how to make them feel what you feel, turn your attention to yourself. Ask yourself, how can I grow from this? How can I ensure that this pain doesn't define me? The Stoics believe that every hardship is an opportunity for personal growth. The key is to focus on your own response. You can't control what they did, but you can control how you respond to it. And when you focus on your response, you're already on the path to healing. Let go of the need for revenge. Revenge might seem like the answer in the heat of the moment. It's a way to restore balance and make sure they know what they've done. But revenge is a trap. It keeps you emotionally tied to the person who hurt you. Instead, let go of the need to prove a point. Your peace doesn't depend on their acknowledgement of your pain. Let go of the idea that they need to change for you to heal. You are responsible for your own peace. Embrace emotional discipline. Stoicism teaches us to master our emotions, not suppress them. When we're hurt, it's natural to feel pain, anger, or frustration. But we don't need to act on those feelings. Instead, we can acknowledge them, process them, and then choose to move forward. Emotional discipline is the ability to feel your emotions without letting them control you. You can feel angry without letting anger dictate your actions. You can feel hurt without allowing that hurt to define you. Use the pain as fuel for growth. Every painful experience can teach us something if we choose to learn from it. When someone hurts you, instead of letting it consume you, ask yourself, what is this teaching me about my boundaries? What is this teaching me about myself? Maybe it's teaching you about the importance of trust, or how to stand up for yourself, or how to recognize when someone isn't worthy of your time and energy. Pain, when handled with wisdom, can become a powerful tool for self-improvement. Detach with dignity. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you choose not to engage with the negativity. It's about creating emotional boundaries so that you can protect your peace, even when others are acting out of line. Detach with dignity, not bitterness. Walk away from toxic situations and people, not because you hate them, but because you value yourself enough not to stay in a place where your peace is threatened. At the end of the day, the person who hurt you doesn't have to apologize for you to heal. You don't need them to understand your pain in order to let go of it. Healing comes from within. It comes from rising above their actions and choosing to protect your peace, your energy, and your emotional well-being. Remember, the power to heal is yours, and it doesn't depend on anyone else. The next time someone hurts you, instead of seeking revenge, try to focus on becoming so strong, so emotionally resilient that they can no longer touch you. Rise above the pain, not because they deserve to see you thrive, but because you deserve to rise above it. This is the Stoic way. Not about confronting others, not about revenge, but about changing yourself so deeply that you are no longer affected by the people who hurt you. And when you do this, you'll realize that your peace, your power, and your freedom are not for anyone else to take, they're yours to keep. We live in a world that often demands a reaction. People expect us to fight back when we're wronged, to raise our voices when we're hurt, to seek justice, to make sure that everyone around us knows exactly what we're feeling. It's almost as if we're expected to wear our emotions on our sleeves, to express our every thought and feeling, especially when others push us to our limits. But here's the hard truth. Peace isn't about reacting. It's not about proving a point or explaining yourself. True peace is about not needing to react at all, and in that quiet strength lies your greatest power. Imagine for a moment that someone hurts you, whether it's through betrayal, words, or actions that sting deeply. What's your first instinct? You might feel the urge to respond, to argue, to make them understand how much they've hurt you. You might want them to know the impact of their actions, to seek revenge, or to demand an apology. But what if I told you that you don't need any of that to heal? Here's where Stoicism comes into play. The Stoics taught that true peace doesn't come from confronting the world around you. It doesn't come from demanding apologies, seeking revenge, or fighting back. Instead, peace comes from within. And once you've reached that inner peace, you don't need to explain yourself to anyone. You don't need to justify your feelings, nor do you need to make anyone else understand your pain. Your silence becomes your greatest strength, and your ability to rise above the situation is a victory that no one can ever truly take from you. When you achieve this level of inner peace, something remarkable happens. You stop giving away your emotional energy. You stop letting the actions of others dictate your emotional state. And the most powerful part, you no longer feel the need to react. Your silence becomes the ultimate response, a response that speaks louder than any words ever could. Think about the power of silence. In a world where everyone is constantly reacting, speaking out, and expressing their frustrations, silence is an incredibly powerful tool. It's not about avoiding conflict, but rather about choosing to not engage with the chaos. When you stop reacting, when you choose peace over drama, you reclaim your energy, and that's something no one can take from you. Let me give you an example. Have you ever been in a situation where someone said something hurtful or did something that upset you? Your immediate instinct is probably to respond, to defend yourself, to make sure they know the harm they've caused. But what if, instead of doing that, you simply chose to walk away, to remain calm, to not give them the emotional satisfaction of getting a reaction from you? I've been in situations like this myself, where I could have responded with anger or frustration, but I chose silence instead. And in that silence, I found something powerful. The realization that my peace was more important than proving a point. The person who hurt me, they didn't deserve my emotional energy. And once I stopped giving them that energy, I was free. Free from the pain, free from the need for validation, free from the anger that could have consumed me. That silence was my victory, and it was a victory that no one could understand because they weren't part of my journey to peace. Now, you might be thinking, but what if they never apologize? What if they don't even recognize the hurt they caused me? And I'll tell you this, it doesn't matter. You don't need their apology to heal. What matters is that you've chosen peace over pain. You've chosen to not let their actions define how you feel. And once you reach that level of inner peace, you realize that you no longer need anyone's approval to feel whole. You don't need their acknowledgement, because your healing is not dependent on them. Your healing is something you control. Peace is strength because it allows you to remain calm, even when the world around you is chaotic. It gives you the clarity to see things for what they are, without getting swept away by your emotions. It empowers you to walk away from toxic situations without looking back, knowing that you don't need to explain yourself. The true victory is not in the confrontation, but in your ability to remain steadfast, no matter what others throw at you. And here's the beautiful part. When you choose peace, you change. You become a new version of yourself, one who no longer allows others to dictate your emotions. People may not understand your silence. They may not understand why you're not reacting the way they think you should. But that's the beauty of it. Your peace becomes a reflection of your strength, a strength that others can't take away, no matter how hard they try. So, the next time you're faced with a situation that threatens your peace, remember this. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to fight back. You don't need to justify your feelings or explain yourself. The greatest response you can give is the one that doesn't require words. Your peace is your power. Your silence speaks louder than any words ever could. And in that silence, you'll find the strength to rise above it all. In life, we all face moments that shake us to our core, moments where we feel betrayed, misunderstood, or hurt by the actions of others. Whether it's a friend who let us down, a colleague who took advantage of us, or someone close to us who caused us pain, these experiences can linger long after they happen. And in many cases, we find ourselves waiting for something that might never come. We wait for an apology, we wait for the other person to see our side, or we wait for them to understand the depth of the hurt they've caused. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't need their apology to heal. You don't need their acknowledgement to move forward. The only thing standing between you and peace is your own ability to let go of the past and find the strength within yourself to grow beyond the hurt. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you replayed a painful moment in your head, hoping that somehow the other person will come around, that they'll realize what they did, or that they'll finally apologize for their actions? We've all been there waiting for closure, waiting for some form of understanding. But what if the true closure isn't something they can give you? What if the closure you need is something you can only give to yourself? This is where the philosophy of Stoicism offers a powerful lesson. We don't need others to understand our pain in order to heal. We don't need their validation to move on. What we need is to find clarity and maturity within ourselves, to stop seeking answers from others and instead seek growth within our own hearts and minds. You see, we often think that the key to healing is rooted in what others do. But the Stoics remind us that it's not about changing the other person or getting them to see things our way. Healing is about changing ourselves. It's about becoming stronger, wiser, and more emotionally resilient so that we no longer allow the actions of others to dictate our emotional state. Take Epictetus, for example. Born into slavery, he endured unimaginable hardships. But instead of letting his circumstances control him, he took responsibility for his inner peace. He didn't wait for others to change. He focused on changing himself. He didn't seek forgiveness or closure from anyone. Instead, he sought clarity and understanding within himself. And that's the essence of Stoic wisdom, not waiting for someone else to right their wrongs, but finding the strength to move forward regardless. So, how do we start this journey of letting go and finding peace within? Stop waiting for others to apologize. You might be holding on to the hope that someone will eventually realize the pain they caused you. But what if they never do? What if they never apologize? Or even worse, what if they don't even remember what they did? You don't need them to apologize for you to heal. Your healing is in your hands, not theirs. The longer you wait for them to give you the closure you deserve, the longer you stay stuck in the past. Instead, focus on your own growth and let go of the need for validation. Find clarity within yourself. You don't need the other person to understand your pain. You need to understand it yourself. Ask yourself, what is this pain teaching me? What can I learn from this experience? How can I use this hardship to grow stronger and more resilient? Pain, if we allow it, can be a teacher. It can show us where we need to grow, where we need to set better boundaries, and where we need to heal. The key is to take ownership of your own healing process. Stop letting the past define you. The past is full of moments that have shaped you, but you are not defined by the people who hurt you. You are not defined by your past mistakes or the things that happened to you. The Stoics believe that our true power lies in how we respond to what happens to us. We can choose to stay stuck in the past, or we can choose to move forward with strength and clarity. It's up to you to decide which version of yourself you want to be. The moment you stop letting the past control your present, You free yourself to create the future you want. Let go of the need for revenge. Revenge might seem like a way to reclaim your power, to make the person who hurt you pay. But revenge doesn't bring peace, it keeps you tethered to the past. It keeps you emotionally tied to the person who wronged you. Instead of seeking revenge, focus on reclaiming your peace. The greatest way to get back at someone who hurt you is to live a life that shows them they no longer have power over you. Your peace is the ultimate form of victory. Embrace maturity and emotional independence. True emotional maturity is about no longer needing the approval or acknowledgement of others to feel whole. It's about learning to trust yourself, to validate yourself, and to find strength in your own ability to move forward. You are no longer emotionally dependent on others to dictate your worth or your healing. You are the author of your own story, and you have the power to rewrite it. Remember, healing is not about waiting for someone else to change. It's not about seeking answers from others or waiting for them to give you the closure you think you need. True healing comes from within. It comes from taking ownership of your emotional state and realizing that you don't need anyone's permission to move on. You are the one who decides when it's time to let go, when it's time to close that chapter, and when it's time to step into a new version of yourself. So, the next time you find yourself waiting for someone else to understand, apologize, or give you closure, remember this: you are not defined by what others do or don't do. You are defined by how you choose to respond to what happens to you. Choose to heal for yourself, not because they need to understand, but because you are ready to move forward. Pain is part of life. We've all felt it in one form or another, whether it's betrayal, disappointment, or the frustration of unmet expectations. Pain is inevitable. But here's a truth we often overlook. Pain doesn't have to control us. In fact, it doesn't even have to define us. Instead of allowing it to break us, we have the power to use it as a tool for growth, resilience, and emotional strength. Think about it. When we experience emotional pain, we often feel like we're losing control. We may become consumed by it, letting it dictate our thoughts, our actions, and even our future. But what if, instead of letting pain overwhelm us, we could transform it into something powerful? What if we could use it to build a stronger, more resilient version of ourselves? This is where Stoicism, the ancient philosophy of emotional control and resilience, offers a game-changing perspective. Stoicism teaches us that we don't need to avoid pain or run from it. Instead, we should embrace it as a natural part of life and learn to use it as a stepping stone for growth. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that the obstacles, the pain, the challenges you face are not something to fear or resist. They are the very things that can propel you forward, if you choose to view them as opportunities to grow. But how do we do this? How can we transform pain into strength and not let it control us? The answer lies in how we respond to the pain. The Stoics didn't teach us to suppress our emotions or ignore the discomfort. They taught us how to manage our emotional response, how to use pain as a tool for transformation, rather than allowing it to hold us back. Let's break this down with a simple example. Think about a difficult situation in your life. Maybe it's a broken relationship, a personal failure, or a betrayal by someone you trusted. It's natural to feel hurt, to feel angry, and to feel helpless. But here's where Stoicism can shift your perspective. Instead of focusing on the negative emotions, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this experience? Pain, when reframed as a lesson, becomes a source of power. The key is to stop viewing yourself as a victim of the situation. Instead, see yourself as a learner, as someone who is capable of transforming adversity into strength. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to develop emotional resilience, to strengthen your mind, and to become someone who is unshaken by life's inevitable hardships. But transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires practice. The more you embrace the discomfort and learn from it, the stronger you become. It's about practicing emotional discipline, not allowing your emotions to control you, but instead choosing how to respond to them. This is where the true power lies. When you stop reacting impulsively to pain and instead respond with wisdom and calm, you begin to shift from a place of vulnerability to a place of strength. Let me share a personal experience. A few years ago, I went through a period of deep emotional pain. I felt betrayed by someone I trusted, and the weight of it was overwhelming. For a while, I allowed that pain to consume me. I replayed the situation in my head over and over, hoping that somehow the other person would acknowledge the harm they caused. But nothing changed. The more I focused on the hurt, the more it controlled me. Then, I turned to Stoicism. I realized that I was giving away my peace to someone who didn't even care. I began to ask myself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? Instead of letting the pain define me, I chose to redefine it. I chose to see it as an opportunity to practice emotional control, to build resilience, and to grow stronger. It wasn't easy, and it took time. But as I began to embrace the pain and use it to fuel my growth, something incredible happened. I stopped being consumed by it. I stopped letting it hold me back. And in that process, I transformed. This is the Stoic path: to face pain, to endure it with dignity, and to use it to build a stronger, more resilient self. The Stoics didn't promise us a life free of pain, but they did show us how to handle it with grace, how to grow through it, and how to turn it into a source of inner strength. Now, I want to ask you, what pain are you holding on to right now? What's been weighing you down, keeping you stuck in the past? What if you could transform that pain into power? What if you could embrace it, learn from it, and grow stronger because of it? Remember, pain is not something to fear. It's not something that has to break you. When you learn to embrace it, when you learn to respond to it with wisdom and strength, you'll find that it no longer has control over you. You'll become someone who not only survives pain, but uses it to rise above, to thrive, and to become the best version of yourself.